Next on the programme, a Christian nursery worker who was sacked for telling a lesbian colleague that homosexuality is a sin has won a discrimination claim against her employer. Sarah Mbuyi was dismissed from the New Park childcare nursery in Shepherd's Bush in London for gross misconduct back in 2013 after telling a gay colleague that God is not OK with what you do. Well, an employment tribunal ruled at the end of last week that Ms Mbuyi was discriminated against on the grounds of her religious beliefs. And in her very first interview since she won her case, we can talk to Sarah Mbuyi now, and also Andrew Williams, who is her lawyer and chief executive of Christian Concern. Just bear with me as I wander over to you. Thank you very much for coming on the programme. Welcome, both of you. Sarah Mbuyi, first of all, can you tell us a little bit more about the conversation that you had with your colleague and your friend, which led to her becoming upset?
The conversation started about our holidays, because we were coming back from Christmas, and simply asking, what did you do for your holiday, etc. And at some point, she started asking me, if you want, what religion I was of exactly. Are you Christian or are you born again? To which I answered, I'm born again. So she asked me what's the difference between the two. And I explained it to her. And where she started talking about the fact that she had not chosen to be gay, to quote her, sorry, that if she could, she would basically be straight if she could have chosen, etc. And at some point she was implying that God hated her. She couldn't be part of something that God hated because she didn't mind being Christian. And I was like, God doesn't hate you. And she moved on to talk a bit more about how that she had basically encountered other Christians before and heard all sorts of hurtful things, to be honest. She eventually said something that sounded like, I think God would condone what I'm doing.
Would condone?
Yes.
Yeah, she said she thought God would condone her lesbian relationship.
Yeah. And that's not true. It's not biblical. So I said to her, well, no, God is not okay with what you do. However, if I tell you that he hates you because of it, then I'm lying to you. That's what I said to her. He doesn't hate you, just doesn't like what you do. End of story. That's roughly what basically took place.
And I think, according to the tribunal judgment, it was said that you went on to say you felt it was her choice to be gay, and she said she took that to be a very personal attack in defending herself by saying she didn't decide to be gay any more than you chose to be straight.
That was an allegation from her, but that's not what was said. I never implied that she chose to be gay. In fact, I said to her, I believe you when you said to me you didn't choose, and I meant it. As for the rest, yeah, she did say that she didn't choose. That
right. She said she was taken aback and she left the room where you were talking. Do you understand why she might have been upset by what you said?
The thing is, I doubt that she expected anything different, to be honest, because she said to me how that she had met other Christian people. Now, I would be careful to put labels, because the things that she's been told apparently were obviously very hurtful, that she said to me how that she had been bullied. But at the end of the day, and also because she said to me that she grew up in a religious family and she went to a Catholic school, it's not like she didn't know the Bible standards about sexual ethics. So I doubt that she was taken aback. I doubt that she was surprised.
Well, she said she was. And she then reported you, and 3 days later the nursery sacked you for gross misconduct on the grounds of harassment. How did you respond? What did you think of that?
Well, I think that when somebody approaches you and asks you a question and you answer it, that's not harassment. Besides, I never displayed any sort of anti-gay behavior towards her. Unlike what the allegations, unlike the content of the allegations.
Although some people might think that saying homosexuality is a sin could be described as anti-gay.
Yeah, well, some people could think that yellow doesn't suit you as yellowphobic or something like that.
Well, there's no such thing as yellowphobic, but I vaguely take the point that you're making. Do you think the way you were treated by your bosses is representative of a wider issue about the way Christians are treated in this country?
Yeah.
In what way?
In a way that the Bible, the Word of God, is made more and more irrelevant to society in general. You know, we endorse, we promote, well, I don't, but the society promotes, endorses ideologies that are absolutely contrary to his word. And in this regard, if people like me, if I may say, and other Christians choose to stand by God's word, we will face hostility, definitely.
Can you give me some other examples of hostility that Christians have faced in this country recently?
Well, having been for a long time in a relationship with Christian Concern, I am kept updated of lots of cases.
Well, let me ask you a lawyer then, Andrew Williams, Chief Executive of Christian Concern, and also Sarah Mbuyi's legal representative. What other cases are there of Christians facing hostility in this country?
Oh, well, daily we have phone calls into the Christian Legal Centre of people who find it increasingly difficult to live out their faith in the public space. Cases like Sarah's, we have many cases,
like
cases
what?
that are well known. Teachers that are dismissed, immediately sacked for offering prayer, praying with a pupil, nurses that are suspended for offering prayer, magistrates that are told that they have to go on equality re-education training because of their views that children are best raised with a mother and a father.
But it depends. I mean, in some of those cases, it depends. You know, if they're crossing a professional line, then you can see that it might be inappropriate to offer prayer to children as a teacher.
I think very often in that particular case, she had a long-standing relationship with an individual pupil. She actually went taught in homes because the pupils were unwell and unable to come to school. It was a very natural thing to do, and it was an offer of prayer. And what we're finding very regularly is that for the simple offer of prayer or for a simple statement of comfort, that can be misconstrued, and people find themselves in the kind of situation that Sarah has.
But do you think it's appropriate? I mean, what happened in your case is really interesting. First of all, you won the tribunal. You were unfairly sacked. That is clear. But the tribunal said your employers were not anti-Christian. They actually said you were not treated. There was nothing about the way you were treated was because you were Christian. What they had done, which was wrong, was have some sort of prohibition on somebody like you expressing an adverse view on homosexuality, which the tribunal said, look, that might be unwelcome, but it's absolutely fine. It's a genuinely held belief of yours, and you have a right to express it. But they weren't anti-Christian.
I would say this: there were other Christians employed there. I've met two of them, and. Indeed, there was never any campaign,
Well, they employed you. They knew you were a Christian. You were open with your colleagues.
Yeah. So I don't think it is. I wouldn't say it's directed at me as a person, although when I read some allegations, there was definitely a case against Sarah, but that's another story. But it's the Christian view.
They said that the tribunal went on to say that what the employer had was a stereotypical view of Christian beliefs, of evangelical beliefs. And of course there, what the point is not so much kind of in a broad sense an anti-Christian view, but an intolerance towards Sarah's views on sexual ethics. Well, and that was what they found to be difficult. And that's where we find at the Christian Legal Centre, it's not so much necessarily kind of big, broad view, but rather these touchstones in our society where, such as with regard to homosexuality, sexual ethics, the exclusive claims to truth that Jesus Christ makes, the offer of prayer, these sorts of things, speaking of Jesus Christ as living and true and able to transform. And it's these things that we find that are the touchstones that sometimes set this kind of situation into play. And it's vital in our society that we are and in the workplace, that there is tolerance, that we're free to speak. Yeah. There are many, many Christians who have viewpoints, just like Sarah and myself, who need to be free to speak out in our culture.
And is it incumbent upon you, do you believe, to also work out whether it's appropriate to say a particular genuinely held belief, which you're able to hold, and under the Human Rights Act you absolutely are, we have freedom to religion, all the rest of it. Do you have to work out whether it's appropriate at a particular time or whether that might be crossing a line?
Can I say that I've dealt with hundreds of people for more than a decade now at the Christian Legal Centre and dealt with many of these cases, and many of the high-profile cases should have been dealt with just like Sarah. I can say that all of the cases that have been in the press could have been sorted out very amicably by having the conversation.
Let me ask you about, because it is an interesting quote from the tribunal, that the bosses, the nursery bosses, the sacking may have been made on stereotypical assumptions about you and your beliefs. What do you think those stereotypical assumptions are?
Well, strangely, for simply having the view that all of us, each one of us, is a sinner, for saying that certain behaviours are sinful, that somehow makes us bigoted and hateful, when actually the opposite is true. Sarah was full of love and compassion for her colleague. She gave her gifts, wrote her cards. All of this was accepted by the tribunal. She wanted her colleague to know the transformative love that is found in a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, just as all of our clients do at the Christian Legal Centre. And it's by speaking that and actually believing it to be true, something that's beautiful and eternal, full of hope, for speaking that, she found herself in trouble. That seems to be the problem that certainly my clients have.
And the tribunal went on to say it doesn't mean your religious beliefs exempt you from the law when it comes to treating people equally. The director of the nursery has said she's very disappointed by the outcome of the tribunal. She's issued this statement to us. We have robust policies and rules in place to ensure our nursery is inclusive and supportive for our children and our staff, and we took the decision to dismiss Miss Mbuyi with a view to protecting that culture. Our priority will always be to provide the best care for children in an environment where every child feels like he or she belongs. We are reviewing the decision of the Employment Tribunal panel with our legal team before deciding our next steps. Thank you very much, both of you, for coming on to talk about that. Andrew Williams, who is from Christian Concern, and Sarah Mbuyi, who won her employment case last week.